Hello, GQ. It's Stephen Colbert. I'm going undercover on the internet. I feel like a spy. It's actually me. It's me. No cap. Instagram? If they truly want to honor their Chicago connections, eat tavern style. If you haven't been fed pizza by hand by Jeremy Allen White, sign up. I think he's doing this on tour around the United States right now. Tavern style, yeah, sure, fine, but deep dish. Chicago deep dish pizza. I know gets a lot of grief. I know Jon Stewart has talked a lot of smack about it, and that's fine. If you can't handle deep dish, that's cool. I love a Chicago slice. I love a Neapolitan slice. But in Chicago, we eat our pizza like it's a baby pool, just filled with sauce and cheese. Put on a snorkel, grow up. Who has Colbert always wanted to interview but hasn't? The Pope. I really wanted to interview Francis. Really wanted to interview Francis. It seems like a very interesting cat, Daddy-o. Leo, come on. Chicago. Let's hit some deep dish. We'll go to a Sox game. I mean, I got 9 months left. If there's one person I could talk to, I'd even go to Rome. You know what? I would do that for him. I would even go to Rome. It's a nice place. Hi! Is there anything you're reading that is helping you through this big transition? Also, I love you to the end of time. That's very nice. I'm always reading The Lord of the Rings. I mean, in little bits, because I'm always finding something new. I'm reading something I should have read years ago. Please do not. No letters, please. I know it's a gap in my fantasy knowledge. I'm reading A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. My fantasy friends are like, I'm so happy for you that you get to read this for the first time. Posted! TikTok! I'm not going to have to dance, am I? How will the U.S. save itself? Do you guys know the dead man swim? We're politically drowning, and the key is to get a lung full of air, float on your belly for as long as you can hold it, then float on your back for as long as you're comfortable, and then tread, and then you go belly, back, and tread until rescue arrives. Stephen Colbert and Jon Stewart for president and vice president. You can't afford me. Did Colbert get offers at other broadcasting networks? Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to check. I don't think so. Hey, your boat's on fire. You want to get on ours? Now on to Quora. Is Stephen Colbert a super genius? No. I think the only super genius is Marvin the Martian from Warner Brothers. I have a good memory, and people mistake that for intelligence. Who is smarter, Jon Stewart or Stephen Colbert? I have a better memory than Jon Stewart. I have quick recall. If I read it and I like it, I probably know it. Or if I heard it, I can remember things. And people mistake that for intelligence, because then you can make associations between things that you remember and you go, wow, he really synthesized that quickly. That's not the same thing as thinking. Jon Stewart's a much clearer thinker than I am. That's why he can reframe arguments on TV in very quick and very interesting ways, because he's doing an analysis of what's actually happening here. All right, let's see some YouTube comments. Those are always good for the bloodstream. Give me the too long didn't read of how he met his wife. I met my wife the first night I was home in South Carolina after my girlfriend at the time gave me the ultimatum. We were going to fish or cut bait, which didn't make a lot of sense to me because I didn't think she liked me that much. I went to the theater with my mom to the world premiere of Philip Glass and Allen Ginsberg's The Hydrogen Jukebox. My mom said, you seem really distracted. What do you think? What's going on? And I said, I told her what was going on. And she goes, well, do you want to marry her? And I said, I don't know. And she goes, I don't know isn't good enough. And the scales fell from my eyes. No, I've been looking through all this worry and all this pressure when it should be clear to me. And then I had the clear answer that I guess I'm not marrying her, at least not now. And we walked into the lobby of the Satili Theater on King Street in Charleston and leaning against the wall under a sconce in a black linen dress, clearly having been to the beach because she was a little sun-kissed. And the voice answered in my head, that's your wife, you're going to marry her. The other voice in my head said, that's crazy, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? But I couldn't take my eyes off of her. And you know what I noticed? She was looking at me too. And I couldn't go talk to her because I had a girlfriend. And at the after party for the artists, she came over and she spoke to me. And we took 2 steps in line. We talked for 2 hours. And now we have 3 kids. And she's the best possible company. Replied. I would like to hear what Colbert wants his legacy to be. My kids. If they're okay, if they're happy, if they find fulfillment in their lives, and hopefully if they find somebody to share their life with. And to have somewhere dry to stand at the end of a stormy day. Which unmovified Tolkien story would Colbert want to be made, and why is it Beren and Luthien? Well, listen, y'all. I mean, the reason why I wouldn't say Beren and Luthien is that I don't think the estate is ever going to let the Silmarillion get adapted. But of Beren and Luthien, of course, is, and I don't think I'm getting out over my skis here, I think it's the story for Tolkien. But of Beren and Luthien is about a man named Beren who falls in love with an elf named Luthien. And he comes across her dancing in a glade in the forest, and he falls in love with her. It's almost as if he saw her across the lobby of a theater and thought, that's my wife. And I'll make it quick. But Thingol's the father. Beren and Luthien fall in love. Luthien says, hey, I want to marry this guy. Ain't he cute? You get one of those 3 gems out of his iron crown from Angband. Luthien really does a lot of it because she's stronger than he is. And she, with her dog, Huan, singing's very important in Tolkien's cosmology. She stands outside of Sauron's castle, gets a little greedy, tries to cut the second gem. Hook her by crook, they make it back to Thingol. And Thingol's like, I thought I told you. And they go catch the wolf and they cut her open. The gem's there. And Thingol goes, okay. And that's just scratching the surface of that story. Wikipedia. As a child, he observed that Southerners were often depicted as being less intelligent than other characters on scripted television. To avoid that stereotype, he taught himself to imitate the speech of American news anchors. My mom pointed out to me when I was a kid. My mom wasn't from South Carolina. She had, been to acting school. And she didn't sound like she was from New York. She sounded like she was pretty much from nowhere. She pointed out to me that newscasters had a very neutral affect to their voice, which means they really sound like they're from Connecticut. And I saw that people on TV were perceived as dumb if they were from the South, something I don't agree with. I decided to pick John Chancellor as who I would sound like, because he was the NBC nightly news anchor when I was a boy. So I was like, oh, I'll sound like John Chancellor.
In the spy business, the dagger is replacing the cloak.
And now, like this, if you get me drunk or if I'm angry, I'll fall into a Southern accent. When I really try to do a Southern accent, I sound like somebody in like a TV movie of John Jake's North and South. Well, I say to you, sir, how dare you impugn my reputation? Tat-tat! In January 2010, Colbert was named the assistant sports psychologist for the U.S. Olympic speed skating team of the 2010 Winter Olympics. This is correct. It's one of the most fun things that we ever did. We got a call from the U.S. speed skating team, just out of the blue. And they said, we are normally sponsored by a Dutch bank, but this Dutch bank had gone belly up in the banking crisis of 2009, and they no longer had a sponsor. So how much money are we talking here? It's like $300,000 is what we need to like do the whole season, the trials, everything leading up to the Olympics. Oh, we can raise that. But here's the deal. If I reach out to the Colbert Nation, which is what we call the audience, they're going to love this idea, but it needs to be the Stephen Colbert, the U.S. Olympic speed skating team. His name has to be on everything, which is one of the fun reasons to play that character, is that I got to piggyback my ego on his ego and pretend like it wasn't mine. They talked about it and they said, okay, well, we can't actually name it, but we can put your face on everything. I had been made a doctor by several universities. I had been made a reverend by, I think, sending in $50 to the Church Universal and Triumphant. I had been made a knight by Queen Noor. I was a knight of Jordan. And so I was the Reverend Sir Doctor. And we wanted to add other things to that. At one point, I was the First Lady of France because Hollande's wife didn't show up to a state dinner, and I took her seat at the dinner. So I was like, well, I was le premier dame de la France, or something like that. So I said, I have to be an Olympian. They managed to make me assistant sports psychologist for the U.S. speed skating team. And that's when we took the show to Vancouver. One of the hardest and one of the greatest things we ever did. And the greatest compliment I ever got. I went on a Letterman to try to let everybody know that we were doing this. And at that point, we had raised enough money that it was official. Like their hoods that come over, it was C right here. It was the Colbert C. They had my face on their thigh. It said Colbert Nation. Their official team portrait was in this front of this huge banner that said Colbert Report or Colbert Nation. Dave held up that picture. And in the commercial break, he looked at it for a long time, just nodding and nodding. What was he thinking? What was he thinking? Because he's Dave. I want to know everything he's thinking. And he looked at this, and he looked at me and he goes, this is a great idea. And I thought I could quit now. In 2009, NASA engineered a new treadmill for the International Space Station. NASA renamed it the Combined Operational Load-Bearing External Resistance Treadmill, or Colbert. It was a contest for the International Space Station module that had yet to be named. Any contest, we're like, we want to win that contest. Whatever, name something, anything. People were aware of this and stopped doing open contests. Like, you can just submit any name you want. NASA had not heard this. And NASA said anyone can submit a name. And so we beat everybody by far. And NASA called and said, we cannot name the module after Stephen Colbert. Well, then why did you make those the rules? Didn't we win? And they said, yes. Is there anything else that we could do? And I said, look, I don't want to really be a pain in the ass for you guys. We're just having fun here. What do you got? And they said, oh, we've got a water reclamation system. The astronaut pee is cycled, and then they use that as drinking water. I said, oh, because that's so great, because what I want to do is have you bring some of that water back down to me so I can have the most patriotic cocktail of all time, a bourbon and astronaut pee. And they said, okay, we're not going to name it after you then. Fuck! Why didn't I keep my mouth shut? What if we did this? And the Combined Operational Load-Bearing External Resistance Treadmill was named. And I went down there and I tested it out and I learned how to be an astronaut at headquarters down in Houston. And it's still up there and they still exercise on it. It's one of the things I'm most excited about having done. Okay, that's me, Stephen Colbert, signing off from the internet. It's been a pleasure.